right, good to have you back. The Nigerian Senate insists it will not confirm Ibrahim Magu as the chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC.
Now, Senate spokesman Aliyu Sabi told journalists that a high court in Abuja has ruled that the Senate has the power to reject any nominee from the president.
What is important is that the court has given a judgment, and that judgment is saying clearly that the Senate not only has the power to confirm but to reject when it deems it necessary, as in the case in question. And so the court held properly that we have that power, and in fact that by the intendment of the law we are not meant to be a rubber stamp.
All right.
Okay.
Intendment of the law.
Behind the cameras, certainly there are other ways of looking at these things and all of that. Well, it's our prerogative to say that. But it's okay. We have joining us now a lawyer, Bosun Oshifoora, right, to help us give insight into all of this. Bosun, good morning.
Good morning.
And nice to see you.
Good to be here.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, the face-off between the National Assembly, especially the Senate, and the Presidency, or the executive arm of government, has been on for some time, and it has affected several other confirmations of names from the executive or the Presidency. And the beginning was the issue of Magu. Now, when in the eyes of the law, certainly, the concept of separation of powers is there, guaranteed by the Constitution. All of them are exercising their powers. But on this issue, how far have they contravened, or who is contravening what and all of that? Who has overstepped its own bound?
Basically, the law is very clear. But I don't know why people just try to circumvent the law or make a mess of what's on ground. And it's sad that it's at the highest level that we're having things like this. You don't have to be a lawyer to understand the Constitution. It's when it comes to interpretations that you need legal minds or legal input. But it's written in English, it's not in Roman, neither is it in Greek. Now, so you talked about the issue of separation of powers, and also there are checks and balances, the two that go together. That's why you find that a body cannot unilaterally make an appointment. The only place where you have, the only set of people amongst the three tiers are the legislators, and you find that they have the mandate of the people, so there's some form of inclusion in getting them into the office. So for the executive, you know, particularly for certain executive appointments, there are instances where the Constitution actually provides that it must be subject to confirmation from the Senate. Even judicial officers, when they are appointed, there are certain areas where you need certain confirmations. Even in some top positions, they have to go via the Senate.
But it looks like, in spite of the fact that the law, the Constitution, clearly defines the duties of the three arms of government, those whose job it is, whether it's in the legislature or the executive or judiciary, don't seem to be able to interpret, to be able to say, look, this is the extent of my duties and it stops here, while the other person's starts there.
Funny enough, they do.
In the case of Magu, for example, you know, the Senate insists that it has a right to not only confirm, but to question or reject. But we heard from the presidency, it was the vice president that actually said that sometime last year, that the job of the Senate or the legislature does not go beyond just confirming. So what exactly is playing out? Is it an ignorance of the law or a deliberate attempt not to allow the law have its way?
With all due respect to the vice president,
yes,
I would rather ignore that angle and go straight to this. That position wasn't right. The courts have even confirmed it, that the Senate, they have the powers to confirm. Right? And in confirming, it's not just rubber stamping. I think that's what the executive is expecting, that, okay, we've sent someone to you, just, you know, hit the gavel and let him go. It doesn't work like that. Now, in the case of Magu, there were certain things, certain charges were trumped up they said he had some issues, security issues.
And integrity
question. That's fundamental. Now, but I think basically what's going on here is more of ego tripping than following the law. You find one arm of the government grandstanding and the other one trying to say that you can't put this in our face. We would resist this with everything we have on our inside. Basically, that's what's going on. Then another problem that I think the executive has got is, with all due respect, is that they don't believe in building institutions. Magu is an individual. Whether the Senate wants him or not, whether it's confirmed or not, I don't think he's the best person we have in this country. We've had people occupy the same position. What if he dies today? God forbid. Yeah. So what are you going to do?
Well, the executive doesn't seem to understand that.
Right. So, but I think that's where the executive is missing it. We should build institutions and not individuals. If we have some individual that is most feared by everybody, some people, it's not going to live forever.
Now, when it comes to the effectiveness of the institution of the EFCC as a body, what difference does it make for a confirmed chairman of the EFCC and an acting EFCC chairman?
You cannot act forever. We all know that if you run this program now, if whatever happens, you're not in, somebody stands in for you, standing in a particular capacity. All right, now if the law says this is your position, this is how you should act, then once you come back, the person should leave. Now, basically, there was a vacuum, and that's why they brought in Magu. And the executive felt, okay, he's good on the job, let's put him in. And they took him to the necessary body to confirm him. He wasn't confirmed based on security issues, and that's it, then find someone else. Basically, that's the way it's supposed to be. So you can't act forever, and it's taking too long. I had, at some point, when this whole thing was brewing, there was somebody who said he could stay there, somebody
for as long as
I mean,
exactly.
You see, those are simple ways of destroying institutions.
But this is really not even about Magu or any other person for that matter. The real issue here is the court has affirmed the extent of the Senate or the legislature's work or duty.
The court is trying to protect the institution.
The institution of the...
Because people will come and go.
And go, yeah.
And if we create a wrong precedent, you'll be shocked at what will happen in another 10 years. Because it's like having a wrong foundation. In fact, I always permit me to give this example. Way back secondary school, I was an art student, so I had a friend who went into sciences. So they had technical drawing. Then he did something perfect in our eyes. You know, we were looking at it from an art point of view. So it was a beautiful thing. And he submitted it to the teacher, and they gave him 2 over 30. We went, art student, we went to the teacher and we went to question it. And you know what the teacher said? He said, I like your boldness, but the foundation is wrong. That if the foundation is wrong, anything you put on it is not going to stand. As young as we were then, I got that message. And that's what's going on right here. If you create a wrong foundation, whatever you keep building on it is going to be wrong. Magu is an individual. Same for every other position where the executive wants to impose. Don't look at the individual, look at the institution. That's what the court has done. And they've come to protect, you know, the sanctity of these institutions. That, come on, you cannot impose somebody on people. This is what the law says. The law has been properly interpreted, and that's how it should go.
Well, now that the court has come out with a pronouncement on this, there's a verdict on this right now.
What next?
What's the implication of all of this? Because we expect that in the coming days, either the executive arm of government is sending another name to the National Assembly in compliance with the ruling of the court or something. What's the way forward now?
What is ideal? If the executive is not bent on destroying this nation, they should do what is appropriate. They have competent hands. They know people. I mean, there are people who advise them on what to do. Now, what is proper to do is bring down Magu, all right, or step him aside and bring in someone else and protect what's on ground. If they keep him there against the pronouncement of the court, then that is a gross violation of the provisions of the Constitution.
All right, let me even bring it to, you know, the barest level now, if you like. The legislature is a core of democracy, right? Absolutely. They represent a huge chunk of Nigerians,
people.
if not
Everybody,
everybody, right?
All the people.
The presidency or the executive, you might say, just a few people. If one were to really decide and say, look, this arm is superior to the other. Of course, Saraki himself, the Senate president, has said we're all co-equals, right?
Exactly.
Should anyone actually be more superior to the other?
Sincerely, none is superior. That's why you
in
have
the arms of
the
government.
issue of checks and balances. This arm is supposed to check the other one. That's what the judiciary has done now. Because there will be clashes. There will be, I mean, earlier on you were saying that, is he a lawyer? Why is he talking like that? Even if he's a lawyer.
Yeah, when you use the word intendment.
Exactly.
Yeah, well.
Even if he is one, all right, there are appropriate institutions that actually interpret the law. He can't take that to himself and run on it. All right, so that's what the judiciary has done. And I think the executive should just rein in their ego and follow the due process. Or else they're going to create a wrong precedent. Because you see, another thing is going to happen tomorrow.
And we'll be back here.
And we'll be back here. Now, you're on the verge of creating a wrong precedent, which some people will quote.
Yeah, exactly. We'll cite this instance.
So, why create problems? Let's just go on. The man has done a fantastic job. Mago, good guy, great guy. Bring in someone else. The law says so. Let's follow the law. If we had no laws now, it's a different thing. But the laws are clear. The laws are there. The courts are pronounced. They've interpreted the law. Then I think if the executive doesn't want to create problems for this country, then they should. We have so many problems in our hand. We've been talking problems.
Exactly.
Since.
There's been problems.
Let's make it one problem less and do the needful.
All right. When it comes to the interpretation here and the way forward, the National Assembly was acting on a report from the DSS. Now, in the past, with the reports in the past few months, there has been a face-off between DSS on one hand and EFCC on the other. And a lot of persons have said these issues are political. So that the report by the DSS was how did they put it? Was a product of the face-off between the two agencies under the presidency. Could that impact on the report submitted to the National Assembly, if at all that was?
I would rather pick it from this angle. It's the DSS that does the security checks on people. They've done it on certain persons, and based on that check, or based on the security report, they've had to reject certain individuals. So why is Mago different?
That's the point. So has this whole issue been
So I wouldn't want to look at the political angle. Let's just say DSS is saddled with a responsibility, and they've been at it over the years. All right, so they brought out a report on so many people. Some have been taken out, some have been accepted based on the report of DSS.
But really, it looks like a standard has been set. It's not the first time that you have this executive legislature face-off. Since 1999, there has been this, you know, back and forth.
Since 1960.
Oh, okay. So what exactly is the problem? Why is it not? Why are we not able to get it right when it comes to the legislature and executive, working in synergy, working in tandem, and not contrary to...
Sincerely, this disagreement actually helps in developing a nation.
So it's good for our democracy?
Even
when they belong to the same party?
Executive. I mean, a legislative arm. It wouldn't all go well for democracy. There will be face-offs, there will be clashes. Then you know they're from different parties, different interests, different opinion about a lot of things. So there will be clashes. That's why you have the courts to interpret. That's why you have the third arm that will put everything together. Because even the Constitution recognizes that there will be face-off. That's why it says, where there's a face-off, this is where you go. This is how you go about it.
All right, Bosun Oshifora, we have to leave you here right now. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Pleasure.
Thank you.